may not have actually helped him. Because what he told the panel, he never attended a gathering like the one Dr. Moore describes in her allegation. In fact, his calendar shows at least one similar event with at least two people coordinated in her letter. And Kavanaugh misrepresenting the truth actually became something of a really troubling matter. For instance, he repeatedly made this strong claim to poke holes in
possibilities. I just want to emphasize all four witnesses who were at the event said it didn't happen, including Dr. Ford's longtime friend,
except this 53-year-old frat coach is actually significantly mistaken fact statements. In reality, three of those merely said that they didn't recall the party as described. And Ford's friend, Miss Kaiser, did specifically say she believes Ford's allegation. And the fourth person there is Kavanaugh himself. So Kavanaugh just wildly mischaracterized evidence. And that is what the judge really should know not to do. It's basically that and don't tuck your rolls into your blue jeans, because it's objectively a bad look. Then there's the fact that the one Kavanaugh's talking his wholesome teenage years spent respecting women with their friendships and doing sick reps at his dad's house. His high school yearbook tells a very different story. For instance, he and his bro friends brag about being Renata, referring to a girl that they knew. Now, Kavanaugh claims that was completely asexual and just clumsily intended to show affection, and that she was one of us, which is a little hard to believe given that A, Renata only just found out about it and said the insinuation is horrible, hurtful and simply untrue, and B, if it was just affection for a friend, where's the alumni society for Amy, or Julie, or Kristen, or Karen, or Maura, especially Maura? Kavanaugh had similarly implausible explanations for other terms in the yearbook, specifically those commonly associated with drinking or sex.
Have you, I don't know if it's booked or boofed, how do you pronounce that?
John refers to flatulence. We were 16.
Let's look at Beach Week Ralph Club biggest contributor. What does the word Ralph mean in that?
That probably refers to throwing up on No Devil Week's stomach, and I always have.
Devil's Triangle.
Drinking game.
Bullshit! The term Devil's Triangle is commonly known to refer to a threesome involving two men and one woman. So I'm just not buying that, unless all your drinking games were named after widely recognised sex acts. Oh, doggy style? Drinking game. You pour vodka in a bowl and you lap it up while wearing only a dog collar. Fisting? Drinking game. That's gripping a Shiraz in each fist and toasting the progress of feminism. 69ing? Absolutely drinking game. That's listening to Bryan Adams' hit song Summer of 69 while uneventfully drinking a beer on the porch. Even C-SPAN calls do not mind this whole drinking game defense.
Go ahead, Carl. Hi, I just wanted to echo two things that another caller said, which is that a Devil's Triangle is certainly not a drinking game. It's an encounter with two men and a woman. Apologies.
We'll go next to Mary in Bronxville, New York.
I like to imagine that guy calls in every day to describe what a Devil's Triangle is, and that was the only day he stood even a chance of getting all the way through his explanation. And look, while it may seem unbelievably petty to give this much attention to our high schoolers' yearbook, you have to remember that to some extent, many were watching this evening to try and ascertain who was more trustworthy. Was it the terrified psychology professor who blew up her entire life to relive her trauma on a national stage? Or was it Judge Animal House, who seemed to be sweatily making up drinking games before members of the Senate? And yet, for some senators, Kavanaugh's poor performance was completely immaterial, as they had already made up their mind. Orrin Hatch, taking a break from being pleased, made the broad case that it was ridiculous to even ask questions about an event that took place such a long time ago.
This is a national disgrace, the way you're being treated. There's been no whisper of misconduct by him in the time he's been a judge. What we have are uncorroborated, unsubstantiated claims from his teenage years.
That is clearly a shitty, disingenuous argument, although I will give Hatch credit for invoking the phrase teenage years with the voice of a 13-year-old who's born literally dropping mid-sentence. Now, as for Lindsey Graham, he turned his performative disgust at the process up to 10.
This is the most unethical sham since I've been in politics. And if you really wanted to know the truth, you sure as hell wouldn't have done what you done to this guy. You're looking for a fair process? You came to the wrong town at the wrong time, my friend.
Okay, first of all, Lindsey Graham sounds like the least intimidating sheriff in the entire Wild West. You turn back around and get back on your horse, Mr. Man. Because what you're looking at is the soft, tender little baby face of justice. You came to the wrong town at the wrong time, my friend. Wrong time. Baby face. Justice. Get on your horse. Ride. But look, second, Lindsey Graham is not actually wrong. He looks like a dog that's not allowed to be within 50 feet of a playground, but he is not technically wrong. This process was deeply flawed, but that is because he and the Republican majority designed it that way. If they wanted to avoid a he said, she said situation, they absolutely could have, but instead they only called two people, so we only heard what he said and what she said. A much thorough process would have involved gathering evidence and hearing from others, like Kavanaugh's classmates, in particular his high school friend Mark Judge, who Ford says was in the room during the alleged assault. But that is not how Republicans chose to set up things. And for all Kavanaugh's emotional appeals about wanting his name cleared, he was repeatedly asked about whether he supported an FBI investigation, and he consistently dodged the question.
Judge Kavanaugh, will you support an FBI investigation right now?
I will do whatever the committee wants to.
Personally, do you think that's the best thing for us to do?
And support available.
You want to answer?
Look, Senator, I've said I wanted a hearing, and I've said I was welcome anything.
You'll welcome anything. Just say you will support an investigation. You've been accused of a heinous crime that you insist you did not commit. If I were Kavanaugh, I would be desperately trying to prove my innocence in every possible way. FBI investigations, polygraph tests, sworn affidavits from not only Mark Judge, but also all my other boys from G-Town Prep. I'm talking about Tobin, Timmy, Squee, PJ, Cumrug, Toots, Merck, C-Dubs, Dirty Pete, Fat Andy, Spliff Dog, the Horn Gob, Bonowitz's older brother J-Money, and shit. You know, character witnesses. And look, at this point, let's actually pull back and look at the picture of Kavanaugh's character that we now have. Because even if you don't think he's guilty of sexual assault, or even if you think that it's impossible to say whether he is because it happened in his teenage years, even then, there should be plenty in what we saw this week to cause you real concern, because a key part of the job that he is up is judgment and temperament. And this week we saw Kavanaugh talk over the top of senators, dodge questions, and conflate just recall something happening with deny something happened, which is, again, a fucking important distinction for a judge. Not to mention, he repeatedly wept at the concept of calendars. And there was one more important moment that I would argue is disqualifying in and of itself, because ideally, a Supreme Court justice should make decisions independent of politics. Kavanaugh himself has stated the court must never be viewed as a partisan institution, and he is right about that. And yet, in his opening statement, a document he had time to draft and consider, his tone was positively Trumpian.
This whole 2-week effort has been a calculated and orchestrated political hit, fueled with apparent pent-up anger about President Trump, the 2016 election, fear that has been unfairly stoked about my judicial record, revenge on behalf of the Clintons, and millions of dollars in money from outside left-wing opposition groups.
Now, that is absolutely horrifying. And it is worth taking a moment now to note the norm that has just been shattered. Because I know that we're all basically callous to people talking that way now, but we are supposed to have at least 9 people left in America who do not talk that way. And yet Kavanaugh just all but came out and said that he's going to approach his entire tenure as one giant case of me versus the fucking libtard cucks. And this brings me to the most basic question that remains. Why? Why this particular arsehole? Why is he the hill that Conservatives are willing to die on? And I do know that was Kavanaugh's most ardent supporter.
Another goal from this corner would in all likelihood secure a victory.
I don't think any gets that personally.
because I want abortion to stop. Even if it turns out he's guilty, I think I'm still going to support him, but I hope he gets in, because this could be a good chance to overturn abortion.
Okay, so it's fine. It's fine to appoint someone who's committed sexual assault to the Supreme Court, as long as they will curtail abortion rights. It's a stance that prioritises human lives, as long as you think life begins at conception, stops right before a sexual assault, and then starts right back up again as soon as that assault is over. Now, obviously,
Well, they needed that, and so did he. Just look at the manager's relief there.
Well, what an extraordinary scoreline. Does this game have... More goals in it. And a goal at this stage could be decisive. Targets available, cross comes in. And a goal! At this stage of the game, it might be decisive. And just look at their supporters.
Well, here it is again, and what a perfect cross into the box this is. Just inviting someone to attack it, which makes it a fairly simple finish in the end. It's a really good goal.
And there goes the final whistle. It's a victory for the visitors in the first leg of this tie.
Well, it was certainly entertaining, and I thought their creativity was excellent, and the front players caused lots of problems. But I'd be concerned by their defending. Too often they were left in 1v1 situations, and that will need to improve in the second leg.